Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we've got a story for you about remembrance, a story that stretches over 70 years, connecting a fallen soldier in the Netherlands to his family all the way in the United States. And it all kicked off with a single, pretty unexpected discovery. So let's just start with a puzzle for you, one that spans decades and whole continents, a real mystery that's literally written in stone. How in the world could this happen? Well, the answer reveals this incredible story of dedication and a family bond that, as you'll see, time just couldn't break. All right, so here are the two people at the very heart of this story. On the left, you've got Samuel Hananxx, who died way back in 1943. And on the right, that's his younger sister, Susanna, who passed away in 2016. They're in two completely different cemeteries, but their gravestones now have the exact same epitaph, a really recent change that connects them across a whole lifetime of being apart. 73 years. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. That is the massive gap in time between their deaths. And that number, that gap, is what makes this whole thing so remarkable. It's a gap that was ultimately bridged by a complete stranger.
Okay, so let's get into it. The answer to this riddle, it doesn't start with the family. No, it starts with a really dedicated stranger over in the Netherlands. So let me introduce you to Erwin Wilmink. He's got a deep, deep passion for military history, and he felt this powerful pull to honor the past in a really personal way by adopting and actually taking care of the grave of a fallen soldier. Now, according to the sources for this explainer, what really spurred him on, what gave his personal mission a boost, was some of the political discussion happening in the U.S. about honoring veterans. For Erwin, remembering the fallen became a really powerful way to make a statement for peace, and that inspired him to act. And what happened next? Honestly, it's almost too perfect to be just a coincidence. Get this. Erwin visits the local cemetery on April 28th, which was 81 years and 1 day after Samuel died. Then he looks up the grave, realizes the very next day would have been Samuel's birthday, and so he goes back with flowers to mark the occasion. Just incredible timing. And this is what Erwin himself said about that moment. He was just floored to find the grave of a Jewish-American airman marked with this big Star of David, so close to his home. He said the connection he felt was immediate and really profound. You know, his commitment was just solid. He finds out the grave is technically already adopted by a local school, but he doesn't just give up. Not at all. He reaches out, gets official permission to co-adopt it, making sure that grave got personal attention all year long. So that begs the question, right? Who was this young man that Erwin felt such a strong connection to? This man he felt so compelled to honor? Well, if you look at the military records, they paint a pretty clear picture. Samuel Hananxx, he was a young guy from Los Angeles, California. And like a lot of Americans before the U.S. officially jumped into the war, he went up north and enlisted in the Royal Canadian Air Force to get into the fight. And then came that fateful day. On April 27th, 1943, just 2 days before he would have turned 21, Samuel's Wellington bomber was shot down. They were on their way back from a bombing raid over Germany. He and his crewmates, they were all buried together in a collective grave in a small Dutch town. And this is where things get kind of interesting from a historical point of view. Even today, the records aren't 100% clear on what happened. One source says it was a German night fighter, but another one says they were brought down by anti-aircraft fire, what they called flak. It's a small detail, sure, but it's a real reminder of how that fog of war can stick around for decades. But Erwin's story doesn't end there at the cemetery. Adopting the grave was really just the beginning. Now he decided he was going to try to bridge that 81-year gap and connect with a family who probably had no idea where their hero was. So, after what he himself called a heavy search, Erwin actually managed to find them. He tracked down Samuel's living family members in the States. He sent an email that was about to completely change their understanding of a man they only knew as a name from the distant past. And you can just imagine their reaction, right? It was total shock, and then this wave of immense pride. Samuel's niece, she knew her uncle had been killed in the war, but That's pretty much all she knew. And then suddenly, because of Erwin, she learned all the details: his service, his sacrifice, and the exact place where he was laid to rest. I mean, it just goes to show you the power of one person's determination. Through Erwin's simple act of remembrance, a name from the past became a real hero in the present, and his legacy was suddenly reignited for a whole new generation. Okay, and that brings us all the way back to where we started. Back to our original mystery. The two gravestones, separated by 73 years, that now somehow speak with one voice. So, once she knew her uncle's full story, she felt this incredible sense of pride, and she was inspired to create a new, really lasting and deeply personal tribute to the bond between her uncle and her mother. And this, right here, is how that whole puzzle gets solved. In this just incredible act of remembrance, she had the words on her mother Susanna's headstone changed, making them an identical match to the epitaph on the brother she'd never met, on a grave she'd never seen. After 73 years apart, she reunited them in spirit with the very same final words. I mean, when you lay it all out like that, it's just this incredible chain of remembrance. It all started with one man's personal promise. That led to a family rediscovering its hero, which led to a niece's beautiful gesture honoring a brother and sister. And now their story is absolutely guaranteed to live on. It really leaves you with something to think about, doesn't it? This whole story just shows that history isn't something dusty and locked away in the past. No, it's a living thing. It's a story that we all have the power to carry forward, to share, and to keep alive for the future.